What do you want? What do you want? Ow, no. Stop it. Sit down. You hungry? Hey everyone, how's everybody doing today? Wow, I hope you guys can see me and oh man, I got this stupid thing. I was playing around with my streaming software the other day or last night, but yeah, isn't that kind of cool? I just found these on one of these like clip art things that you can use, and you know, if I get really crazy, I can push a button here. And it's supposed to like cycle through colors. This is too bright. Anyway, I'll change the background a little bit later. Why is this so bright? Oh my God, my eyes. I'm like seeing spots now. Still too bright. Just want a little fill light, right? Anyhow. Oh, thanks everyone. Let's see who's here. So AJ, ProRace, Rick, Derek. Wow, David, how are you? Let's see what else we got. I should have wore like a nightclub jacket for this particular background. This is not my lucky jacket that I used to wear when I went out on the town. Oh, Peter, good to see you. Francois, Plato, Larry, good morning. And Leon, how you doing? Oh, man. Excuse me. Oh, all my medicine haven't kicked in yet. So hard, you know, I'm like, I was watching a video by Joe Edelman the other day about catch lights in the eyes, right? And he was talking about all the psychology of having, you know, nice whites in the part and a little black ring around the iris and, you know, lots of things. So check out Joe Edelman's recent video on catch lights. It was kind of interesting even if you know how to do catch lights for portraits and stuff. I thought it was kind of interesting. Uh, but yeah, I have the most unattractive eyes ever because they're always bloodshot and watery, and I have a hard time with catch lights. So I must always look sick. If you watch my tutorials and stuff, you know, I got these like, I got to figure out how to like adjust the lighting so these bags don't show quite as much. Look, I look 10 years younger like this. But dye my hair, get a little bit of plastic surgery done on my eyes, and then start hitting the gym. I might be able to go back out into the single scene again. But as it is, it's just me and Ellie. Oh, let's see. Any questions to start off? Well, let me start off. Today we're going to, you know, I'm going to try and hit a couple questions early and then move right into the some photo critiquing that you guys have sent in a lot of pictures. I haven't, I mean, I kind of skimmed them this morning, but I haven't had a chance to really look at them. But what I like to do is normally I like to just look at them like these were pictures that I took, and then how would I edit them in post-processing. And I only use Olympus Workspace and the most basic controls, you know, because when you stick to kind of the basic controls in Olympus Workspace, you can duplicate all of that in camera for the most part. So it's a good learning tool to uh, understand, you know, the picture that you took and how you can do it maybe better next time, or differently, I should say. Particularly with exposure and, you know, art filters, which you know, I just love them. You know, a lot of people they never use them. Whenever I ask somebody, you know, what's your favorite art filter, they're like, what? Who uses those? Oh, I do all the time. Uh, but so yeah, I'm gonna edit those, and I know there was a lot of comments too with the pictures that came with it, but I haven't figured out a way to streamline showing those comments together with the image, so I'll have to uh go kind of blind. Like I don't know what camera necessarily or focal length and lens you guys were using, but I assume most of it's micro four thirds. Not that it matters, it's really about the image itself and the capture. Uh, and then just a couple other things. The forum seems to be picking up. We're almost up to 100 members there on my forum, and there's been some really good posts in there for educational purposes, right? We have, I think Francois did a really excellent post on trying to match colors between his old E300 and newer Olympus cameras like the EM1. It was really interesting his methodology of approaching that, and yeah, I think it's a good read. And then also Rick and Magrat, I think got that right. Also made some good posts that were very educational with respect to one. I think was about image stabilization. Another one is on the photo challenges because I think he or she recommended a photo challenge for food photography, like some junk food. So I'm gonna post one of my efforts that I tried. It's just a first effort of some eggs and toast, but it's a really interesting challenge to take pictures of very simple food. Uh, and when you think about it, it's not too dissimilar from when I did my video about taking pictures of people's hands. It's not that straightforward. So if you want to see frustration with getting an image to be kind of more interesting or epic or whatever, you should watch that video I did on the most important thing in photography. Because that really shows sort of like what the average person would do to take pictures of some particular object or subject, and then how you can improve on that from there. And these photography challenges are kind of the same thing, right? Like the toilet paper challenge. I took a picture of, I don't know, 200 rolls of toilet paper, and or 200 pictures of one roll until some idea finally came for me to do that James Bond theme, and so that's the way I kind of approach these challenges. Is I just take a picture without thinking and say, okay, let me take a picture of this. What would be kind of nice, and then you have to really start to get your creative juices flowing to make the picture a lot more interesting. So uh, if you get a chance, try and post some images, even if they're just practice, and you need some critique on them uh, in that challenge. I think the food challenge will be kind of interesting. Okay, let's see. Let's see. Oh, and about the forum, I updated the security on it, so it's a little bit wonky when you log in. Sometimes you have to log in twice. I don't know if it's something to do with the way the cookies are saved as with SSL certificates and stuff, but it's kind of, I don't know. Let me know, you guys, if you're having trouble logging in or registering as a new user, and then of course you can just always email me, uh, and I can send you a password if you need one, or just activate the account. But uh, it's still a struggle. I'll have to go to a paid version eventually, but then it's not easy to migrate all of the users over with the passwords. So I might be able to migrate the users, but then you'd have to reset all your passwords. Oh, okay. So let me hit a few questions real quick early on, because I know a lot of people, they kind of come in early and then they can't stay for the rest. So I'll try and hit the questions kind of on and off, but that's gonna be the kind of the general theme today. Is I'm gonna review some pictures and edit them. Okay. Oh, AJ, okay, you're gonna stay up late tonight. All right. You can always watch them later, you know. Uh, unless you submitted a picture. I'll try and get to the pictures sooner today. Let's see. Man, there's a lot of things here. Hi, good morning, Serge. Wahab, good to see you. Um, let's see. I'm sorry. I'm just scrolling through 200 rolls. No, I'm almost caught up. All right, Marsha's asking, starting macros, should you get the 30 or 60? I recommend the 60. 30 is a little bit too tight in with respect to working distance. You know, to get that one-to-one macro, you have to be about this close to the subject. And the 60 macro, you know, you have more working room. So that way you can fit some diffuse light or something in front of the macro subject. Uh, so I would recommend the 60. And honestly, you know, if you haven't tried extension tubes, that's a great way to get started for like $25. And the extension tubes work really well with the 14 to 42 kit lens. And another good way is to do use a lens reversal ring, but you don't even really need to buy a ring if you got really steady hands. You can just turn the lens around physically and then try it, you know. You have to back in and out to focus, but zoom your lens all the way out to 40 millimeters or whatever. Zoom it out as far as it'll go, and look at the macro pictures you can get with that just to start, just for fun, to get a feel. Before you drop, you know, $300-400 on a lens. I mean, I know the 30 millimeters is a lot cheaper, but it's not going to get you as much. I don't think it'll expand your photography as much because the 30 millimeter focal length you kind of already have covered with your kit lens anyway, or 12 to 40 Pro, whatever you have. So I think the 60 makes a nice dual purpose lens. A lot of people use it for, you know, portrait work and other things where you need a tight focal length. Okay, John submitted a picture. Craig, hi Craig, how are you? Um, I have not tried the gigapixel, Craig. Um, really, you know, if you're shooting 16 or 20 megapixels anyway, you can print up to like a meter of, you know, poster size image without really any loss in detail at a normal viewing distance of it, just a couple of feet or a meter. So I feel like things like these gigapixel upgrade things are uh, they would be wasted on me and anyone that doesn't print larger than poster size, you know. It wouldn't be money well spent. You know, if you're printing billboard size or if there's some reason like art galleries where people are going to be up close and looking at big prints, maybe, you know. But I have to try it. I'm just curious, just from an academic standpoint. It'd be interesting to see how computational photography can can work with our images. Brana, good morning. Good evening. Yeah, it's 499, Marcia, the 60 millimeter. So it's not cheap. I mean, try a lens reversal ring. You can get an actual ring for about $8 or $9, and that'll give you better than one-to-one macro. If you saw my video on easy macro photography, it's very recent. I use extension tubes and I use a reversal ring, and I think I even use reversal rings with extension tubes. So and I got pretty decent macro out of it. It was a lot of fun without spending more than $20. Um, and then if you really enjoy macro, then maybe it might be worth investing $500 in a lens. Oh, French, I'm sorry. The Pen F Mark II, I can't wait. If I haven't heard any new rumors uh, about it coming out, other than an interview that I read from about a month ago, that the guy didn't deny it. The guy from Olympus did not deny it. He didn't. He neither confirmed or denied. So uh, that's always a good sign, right? Just kind of keeps us hanging. But I will be the first in line to buy that camera. Uh, well, we'll see. I mean, if it's exactly the same as the original Pen F, maybe not. You know, it depends what it is. I have to see it because now that I have the M1 Mark III, uh, that camera really. Well, let me rephrase this. What I don't want is a Pen F with EM1 Mark III features. Um, what I really want is a Pen F2 that has more control over the colors. Because right now we can control saturation, but we can't really control hue or tint or uh, luminance. I'd like to be able to control the luminance and hue of each color in addition to the saturation to develop, some really unique custom profiles that you can do in camera rather than having to take it all back and do it in post-processing. Because it's different when you're in the field and you can see with your naked eye the scene and then apply the stuff in camera and get an image. It's just for my brain. Because I can't tell you how many times I would take a picture thinking I'll go do this in post later, and then when I got into post, I didn't take the picture correctly for what I wanted to do. Like the most common one is the image is too dark, so when you bring up the shadows, they're all grainy, or you clip the highlights and you weren't able to recover them. But there's problems with colors too, um, where you have this in mind and then you go into post processing and it's like, man, this is not quite warm enough. And then when I do warm it up, it messes up these other parts. So I'm not getting the vision I expected without doing a lot of post processing work. So I'd like to see those things in a Pen F2 and the microphone jack. Man, if it has those things, um, we'll see. Hi, Elaine, how are you? Let's see. I need somewhere one can achieve a better magnification with a telephoto lens with close-up filters than using them smaller. I'm not sure. Do you mean with macro photography, you're trying to get closer, or are you talking about you need more telephoto, like using a digital teleconverter? But I assume you mean more close-up, like macro work. Um, if you're going to be doing close-up a lot and you don't care about the infinity focus, try using extension tubes. That will give you much bigger magnification and you get a really good working distance. Like I used teleconverter, or I'm sorry, extension tubes on my 75 to 300 lens, and I had working distances of like 8 to 10 feet or 3 meters, however you like to think about it. And I got decent magnification with that, not one to one, but really close up photography. So I would prefer that over close-up filters because close-up filters generally degrade the image quality, especially the corners and things, because they're not usually high quality unless you buy an Olympus. They do sell Olympus branded close-up filters for specific lenses, and those do a good job. But if you need something more universal, now when you use extension tubes on your telephoto lens, you're going to lose that infinity focus. I mean, your working range might be only 3 to 4 meters, and anything closer or beyond that is going to be out of focus. So it really turns your lens into a specialty lens. You're not going to be able to just do close-ups, then switch over to taking telephotos again. It's going to be pretty much limited to a very tight focusing range once you put those on. But it's one way. If you want to do close-ups, uh, extension tubes are still great on telephotos in that way. Thank you, Hans. Thank you. I'm not sure if it was you or another Hans that came in, but email me, Hans. I just wanted to send you a personal note before I forget. That's my email. I think it was you. But something you said in one of my live streams, I just wanted to send you a personal note. Okay, so I see, Craig. You want to crop in on a, you want to basically crop in and get effective telephoto lens. I don't know. Maybe, right? Hi, Mike. Mike's asking, when I shoot in anti-shock mode, is there a loss versus using regular mode? And there is a slight loss in continuous shutter mode, meaning it will slow the shutter down. So let's say it's normally 10 frames per second in continuous shutter mode. If you use anti-shock shutter mode, you might get 9.5 or 9. So that's what I found with the EM10 Mark II. Now, I didn't test other cameras, but that was one thing. Another thing, is really, I don't think there's really much else other than you can't go above a certain shutter speed, I believe, in anti-shock mode. Before I say that, let me just put the camera in anti-shock mode and see. Oops. Yeah, no, you don't lose really that. I was thinking you might lose a minimum shutter speed, but you don't. But that's really the only thing that I can think of. Catalin's asking, do you know anything about the 3.2 update for the M1? Is it possible that the focus be a little bit changed without Olympus to admit that? No. I I I haven't tested the focus. Yeah, I rarely do any photography that requires critical focus. When I need critical focus, I just stop the lens down and increase the depth of field. But I understand there's lots of photography where critical focus is important, but I don't do enough of that to have to look for it. So sorry, I can't give you feedback on that. The M10 Mark II LCD turns off when I tilt it even in EVF auto switched off mode. Might be yeah. Yeah, it could be that. Yeah, the behavior of the tilt screen is tricky. My EM10, if you watch my last video, you know how beat up this thing is, but my eye detect totally stopped working altogether, so I have to use the LCD anyway. Not the EVF is broken, but the auto switching, it doesn't sense when the eye is up next to it, so I'm not able to really help you with that part anymore because I don't have any other cameras with a tilt screen. Oh, okay, on bird photography it's slightly out. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to try. I don't have really a decent lens for birding. I have the 75 to 300, but it's a tiny bit soft all the way out to 300 that I don't know if I'd notice a slight misfocus even if it was. But I'll keep that in mind. I don't think I've updated to 3.2 yet. Let me write that down. I'll just have to keep that in mind. But a good place to go is, I think you're in my forum. Go to the forum and ask, or mu43.com, mu-43.com. They have an excellent forum user community there. They might be able to answer that question a lot quicker than I will. Have I tried the Sandmark Fish Islands? No, I've not. Okay, let's go to the images. Let's go. So you bought a backpack mechanic. Yeah, it's a great little tripod. I use mine all the time. Let's go to the see if I can switch over without making anybody have a seizure. Hold on. See how that looks. No. That's close. I think this will work. I was trying to make it so that you guys can still see the, because I want to be able to see your comments while I'm editing these. So hopefully this format works a little better than last time. Oh wow, you got to wait till May 6th. I know. Oh, thank you, John. I will. She's doing well, my mom. All right, let's see. These are not in any particular order the way they came in. But again, I'm just going to edit these just like as if they were my own picture. I'm sorry. I need to get my picture on my face on the other side. Oh, okay. That's better. So what I was saying is I'm going to edit these pictures or make comments, suggestions, if any, about as if they were my own personal pictures. But they're all wonderful pictures. I just would do them differently, and that's all this is about. Is right. It's always good to hear other people's opinions and thoughts on images. You know, to kind of spark your own sort of imagination or creativity. And again, it's just take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm not that experienced photographer for different types of photography, but okay, let's start here. So this image here, I mean, I love the tones in the black and white, and there's decent symmetry here, but the image is not working for me, really for a couple of reasons. There's just too much information, and you know, my taste when I do photography, I like to simplify the scene. You know, they always say less is more. Uh, and it's not that you need less things in the pic, or I guess there can be clutter in the picture. Like there was a bicycle picture that Nikolai, or I forget his name exactly, submitted that was just nothing but total chaos, but it was beautiful. Uh, because ultimately the image was about the colors and you know the scene itself. But this image here, for me, has beautiful tones. I like the tones in the sky and the building. I like the texture of the uh, building itself. You know, the stucco or whatever, the cement, and this door in the shadow down here is excellent. So what's throwing me off is all of this up here. I think this is a pigeon or something up here, and then we have this wire. So again, this looks like, really, this could be two different shots. I would cut this shot in half right in the middle, but I don't think anything needs to be done with um, uh, exposure or lighting or tones or anything like that. So just a simple crop for me would work. And I'm going to stick to standard crop sizes. And I think Kostov asked, why do I do that? Why do I just stick to standard crop sizes? It just makes it easier to print if you decide to print later. because you can buy paper in those specific sizes. But yeah, you can crop them any way you want. I just do it just for as a matter of being able to print them later with decent borders and put them in a picture frame. But yeah, anyhow, I would crop this more like this. And this down here, I would make sure that the shadow falls right into this corner and splits the picture in half, right? If you lead your eyes up, we have half the picture up here and half the picture down here, and then this door is almost naturally already in the rule of thirds. But that simplifies the picture a lot for me. So if we look at the before and after, whoops, I feel like, whoops, sorry, let me. There's the original, there's the crop. I think, why? Stop it. There. I think this is a stronger image. Yeah, John says clone out the wire. Yeah. That could be done. ProRace asking RGB or sRGB. Just use RGB. I'm sorry. I think you're talking about sRGB versus Adobe RGB. If you're shooting JPEG, it doesn't matter. Or I'm sorry. If you're shooting RAW, it doesn't matter. It's about workflow. But okay, let's go back to the next image here. Oh, let me go back to this. Yeah, the shadow of the wires look like a hand, right? And then this up here is almost another image, right? So I would do some symmetry. I would just do front and center and get and do the symmetry thing, right? Make the left side equal to the right side. But then this little tiny pigeon or bird adds a nice little accent to the picture, right? So this to me is the second picture in the frame, I think. Just too bad about this wire. Maybe I would crop into the left here a little bit more and emphasize the bird. Something like that. And let me see how that looks. That doesn't work. I mean, it's not bad. I think this kind of works too. But if we're going to go for the bird and the picture, I would go a lot tighter. I am Mr. Tony Crop North, or whatever they call him, because he's always cropping his photos. I kind of like that. I mean, I understand maybe you don't have a telephoto lens, right? So how are you going to get a shot like this when you're in the field? But then just just apply a filter or something. Let me see. Maybe something like that. So that's kind of the direction I'd go. I think ultimately that'd be my final image. All right, let's go to the next one here. Okay, this is cool. The being off, this always bothers me when things are crooked. I mean, sometimes with a brick wall, you can't get it straight because bricks are crooked, over time. But that helps. And then I would have liked, I'm not there. I would have liked to have seen a much wider field. Like, what is this fox looking at, or dog? because now I'm curious, right? So I have more questions about the story here than I do a story. So, I mean, sometimes using your imagination is good, but then sometimes there's just too much for the viewer to try to figure out. And for me, I'm having a hard time trying to figure out what is he looking at, if anything. And like I said, I'm not there. I don't know what else would be in the scene if you took a wider shot. But to me, that's what's missing here. Other than that, it's a perfect photo, you know. Um, there's not much I would change here. Maybe a little bit more contrast, or use a contrasty pop art filter, like so. So I think the pop art filter too looks good on this. It adds more contrast and punch to the colors. And so I would try and find, if we need to try to find some kind of message in here by itself. I don't know what part of the photo is. I don't think that helps. I mean, I would crop in a little bit more so that now, to me, now the story is not about what is the fox looking at, right? The story is about the artist's work and the detail of how they painted the image onto this brick. So when you crop it and get a tighter shot, I think this has more story, more information to it than it does questions, right? Uh so that to me is this to me is where I would go with this image. I would go about the details and the artwork of the image and the brick and the texture, rather than that wider shot you had, um, like this. Because this, to me, now the story is, what is the fox looking at? And that's just too much. That's too much for the viewer to yeah, you're putting too much on me, I should say. But that's what I would do. A little pop art filter and a crop like that. What do you guys think? Does that make sense? um okay, Elaine, I'll look for it. Yeah, David's making the comment as someone else's art. So yeah, you don't want to take a picture of a picture, right? You want to take your own picture. So how do you make this your own? And to me, I think this works. But oh, Pascu thinks the original's better. Yeah, sure, why not, right? Um, but yeah, I like the cropped one a little better for the reasons I stated. But okay, let's move on. All right, now this one is heavily edited apparently. Oh, or used a UV light. Sorry, I'm just reading the comments. There's a big lag in the comments because you guys are commenting on the fox. But okay, so this there's nothing to crop here at all. I think this image is about the light and the weirdness of it. So I don't think I would change anything. It looks like there's a couple of feathers got stuck on a stick, is what it looks like. Um, the only challenge with this is it's just still a little bit too dark. Um, I would have liked to seen this splash of orange in here, a little bit stronger. And there's not really any way to do that directly in well, there might be. Let me see if I can do this. This might be say the oranges here. Oh, I need to go to luminance. I would crank the luminance up on this yellow part just to give the picture a little more accent. And then make the yellow a little bit more complementary, kind of like this. And then let me bring the blue down a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is raise the exposure of the entire image. Let's see. I think that's the right one. Okay, good. Is that luminance? Yeah, that was luminance. So then I would just raise the exposure comp like so. Ooh. All right, that's about the right brightness. And then I'll just have to put some contrast back in, either through dehaze, clarity, or the contrast itself. Yeah, this works. So I think that's a little stronger image. So we'll compare those two. I think that's the right direction. The one on the left is the original, then the one on the right is my edit. So basically I'm just trying to bring out the yellows a little bit more and the blues. But I think that's all that needs to be done. So just continue working with it kind of like that. Let me maybe a little brighter. And then now that it's bright, I've lost, so I need to add contrast. So let me see if I can crush the blacks without messing anything else up. Yeah. Nope, nope, nope. Just the highlights. Yeah, that works. Then now I think we can make it a little brighter. So that's all I would do. You could play with it some more. Like I would definitely try to bring up this yellow. I mean, if you have a post-processing software that will brush, I would brush this in a little bit more and a little bit more here, but it's a beautiful picture. I think that's all I would do. All right, let's see, what do we got here? Okay, this is cool. This guy's got a really got a giving you the stink eye. Like, what are you doing, man? These kind of shots, though, typically I see people, they're looking at the guy in the camera. So this is one where if you have the opportunity, you know, try to talk to the person a little bit first and get them comfortable with you and get to know each other a little bit, like have some rapport, and then take his picture, because this picture looks like he didn't want to have his picture taken, and those are not you know, those are not as interesting. So I think that's the only challenge I have with this picture is if you can, because sometimes you can't even speak the same language when you go to these places. Like this would be a totally foreign place to me, wherever this is. I don't recognize the plant, or you know, just the way he's dressed. Doesn't look like he would like people dress here. I mean, other than that, Everything looks really good. The composition is good. I mean, it's just a portrait. You're front and center. So it works. It's just I think yeah, this is one of those ones where I would try to get to know the person a little and maybe get a different shot. All right, let's move on. Yeah, sorry, I'm not really a portrait guy, so I can't offer much more advice other than just how it makes me feel. I feel like he didn't want his picture taken. Ooh, okay. This is cool. Got a little bit of a Dutch angle going. Um, I mean, I like all of the tones with the black and white. So I think going black and white was the right move. And the Dutch angle, typically, when I do Dutch angles, I like one thing in the image to be straight. So if a person is standing crooked, I'll adjust the angle of the entire picture so that it looks like they're standing vertical, but then everything else is crooked. But in this image, everybody is crooked. So I might tilt it so either this guy or this guy is standing up. And what would be interesting is if you could uh use uh a continuous shutter and capture multiple images and then eventually get like a zigzag pattern of the people. And it's going to take a lot of patience and it may never happen, but you try and get a zigzag pattern of the people that kind of match the zigzagness of the skating park there. And then, like I said, as far as the angle goes, let me see if I straighten this guy. Well, if I straighten this guy out, it's going to straighten the whole picture. So this guy, I would have to straighten out. That's the problem with this image is everybody's standing straight. This guy's straight, this guy's straight, this guy's bent over, but he's straight, you know? And this guy, there's not enough of him in the frame to make the rest of the picture work. Maybe that's actually, I think I like this. This works. All right. And then I think, let's go with a portrait. So we get more of that person in the frame. We don't need any of that sky or mountain. Ooh, something like that. Let me see. Yeah, this works a little better for me. So now this guy is kind of straight and vertical, but then the rest of the scene is crooked. So now we're like in this person's world, right? We're in his world and not our world. I just wish we had more of him in the frame. Uh, that's the only thing. So, but yeah, I think this is where I would go. I would focus on, but since he's out of focus, what else is in the frame that we can work with? I mean, that the fact that he's out of focus doesn't bother me actually. Um, it might work if actually if I just do freeform type I can do a freeform type cropping. What I would do is maybe no, there's just not enough in the frame when it's this crooked. But this is kind of like where I would go. Right right in this area. I like that. Almost like that one. There's a lot of potential here in the scene. I'd have to work with it a long time to find something that I would like. But there's a lot of things in the scene that make it really interesting. Because I mean, you could argue that the original image as is fine, and it just needs a slight. I would just straighten this one guy out, just to the point that he's totally straight. But that's how I like to do like those Dutch angles. Is have one thing straight so you're in that person's world or whatever that object is, and the rest of the world that we're in is all crooked. All right, let's move to the next one. Oh, cool. I like this. This has a little bit cool, kind of pastel-y looking. Not sure how I feel about that. I like pastels. And man, amazing detail here. Really good. And this was shot on an EM10 Mark II at f1.8. So this is like a prime or something. Maybe a 45 millimeter prime, I'm guessing. It doesn't show me the lens info. Oh, it is. Yeah, it's a 45 millimeter prime. Okay. So, yeah, mechanics referring to the previous photo, crop out the guy in the front and just get the mountains in. Maybe I'll come back and try that. This is, there's nothing I can do here other than change the color a little bit. Just warm it up. Kind of like that. Add a little magenta. And maybe just touch on the highlights. No, not really. The highlights here just a little bit blown out. This is something that Lightroom would do a much better job with. Bringing the highlights in. Workspace is just a little bit too coarse on the highlights. I'd want to bring in, this is a little bit blown out. So if I was using Lightroom, I would bring these highlights in and just warm it up slightly. But other than that, I wouldn't change anything. That's a nice shot. I mean, this is, when you deal with nature shots, it's always one of those things like it's hard to capture it when they're in the perfect pose, right? Like I think someone suggested maybe a bit of a side view on the hawk, which, yeah, it's always nice to see the beak kind of sticking out. But yeah, when you're dealing with nature, like when I looked at a polar bear picture last time, and it was a tight shot, which I would have liked to seen it wider, but since I'm not there, I don't know what would happen if you tried to make the scene wider. Maybe they were peeking through a fence, and if they went wider, you would get, the railing or bars of the fence in the image, and going wider just wasn't an option. And this is another one of those shots where, you're focusing and trying to lock focus and get the perfect image to capture all the fine details in the feather. And at 45 millimeters, you're pretty close already. So this is like you're probably standing maybe 4 or 5 feet away from the guy, and so you're nailing the focus, and then 2 seconds later the hawk flies off, and you don't get the opportunity to get the other shots. So, but yeah, other than that, I think it looks good. I like the pastels though. I don't know why. The pastels work for me on this, but just to compare the two, this is a little bit too cool. I would go a little bit warmer, and Yeah, I think John's right. John says the arm here is a little bit distracting. I mean, if I crop that out, let's see if I can crop this. This is a 3x4, kind of. That might work. Yeah, I think that works. Let me move it over to the left a little bit. Yeah, I like that better without the arm. So just warm it up a bit, and then use a decent. If you use a really decent photo editing software, I probably could do it with Workspace if I go into the tone curves, but that's that's a nightmare. It'd be so much easier in say Lightroom or Capture One or something to bring the highlights of the feet in, because the talons of the hawk are just as important as the beak and the eyes, right? And then of course just capture the detail of the feathers. I mean, everything about this bird is beautiful. So you want to try and capture everything the best you can. And I would definitely work with the raw file in a decent editor and bring the talons in so that they have a lot more crispness to it and stuff. But okay, that's all I would do. Um, okay. Wow. Gosh, you guys go to such interesting places, you know? I would love to be at these places. I hate to travel, so I have to travel virtually through you guys looking at these pictures. I would love to be there. And then up here, I see a little bird and a little person. I don't know if oh, that's maybe not a person standing. That's probably just some part of the architecture. But I do see a bird here. Man, too bad we couldn't get crop in that. It looks like you've cropped in already based on the image dimensions. Um, I mean, clearly the horizon's crooked, so that's the first thing I'm gonna do. Let me bring a line in. Ooh, I have to use a vertical. Yeah, that's the only one that's big enough for me to. Okay, that's a bit too much. See this line. Just a little bit more. Okay. All right. And then for framing, man, it's too bad about this bird. It'd be nice if he could have been a lot closer. But I would frame out. My problem here is this here is a little bit too overwhelming, and it doesn't have anything interesting about it. It's just us, it's just some cement or clay or whatever this is. So I would get more in over here and just focus on this. So you need to crop in even more. Um, I think I need to make this corner something like this. Because now our focus is here on the sidewalk, or this part that you can walk around. Like I don't have any sense of scale. That's part of my problem with this image. It's there's no tree, there's no person, there's nothing familiar to me in the image. So this could be any size, right? This could be like a miniature model, or this could be a giant castle. I'm thinking this is large because there is a bird way off in the background. Um, Yeah, I think soft to be fun. That's a good idea. Let's try a wider aspect ratio. Because, you know, the thing is, there's a lot of sky here and there's not much going on. Because it's a little bit, and these are tough shots, right? Because you have these harsh shadows because of sunset. So the shadows are going to be crushed. And if you try to bring them up, you're going to bring in a lot of noise. But then if you go to the, you know, if you try to save the highlights, then shadows are completely gone. But you try to shave the shadows, then you lose the highlights. This is like one of those shots that should be bracketed and blended. I think that looks all right. I would crop out just a little bit. I think that's a little bit better shot. I'm not sure what you mean by 2S and 4S, John. 1S and 3S are more pleasing. What the heck are you talking about? Like I said, I'm not really a real photographer. So I don't know half the things you guys talk about sometimes. But this is where I would crop it. So let's see if the before and after. I think that's what I would do. It's just this one wall is just a little bit too overbearing in the image. And then straighten it and then get sort of this line where it looks like you can kind of walk in. And that's the weird thing about this image is there's no sense of scale. But this to me is better. And then the only other filter that might work with this, because, well, it looks very, it's kind of a clay color, right? So I'd offset this with a little bit of green. Maybe this filter. Ooh, man, that destroyed it. Let me try this one, Vintage 2. Yeah, this filter thing's not working, but I think honestly, I think this is where I would go with it. It's like that. Because the filters, the vintage filters bring the shadows up for you and add a little bit of grain to the overall image so it doesn't look like you have grainy shadows. It looks like the entire picture's kind of got grain. So that's what I do sometimes with grainy images is I just make the entire image grainy rather than just having the shadows grainy, right? You make everything grainy, then it doesn't look so bad. Like I said, just an artistic choice. But that to me is where I would go with this. I would I'm using the filter to bring up the shadows and then add grain to the entire image. And I think that's a little better image. All right, let's move on. Where are we? Ooh, a night scene. Okay. This looks good. You got the reflection. Hmm. Sorry, I was reading John's thing. He was talking about 2 and 4 subjects versus 1 and 3. Oh, okay, so rule of odds basically. Yeah. Oh, okay. I'm just seeing what I can do because there's still something here not right. I mean, this part here, nothing you can do about it because that's in the image. And I like the muddiness of the reflection here. And then up here is very sharp. But that sharpness adds a little bit too much sort of clutter to my eye. And I'm wondering, what I'd probably do is I would probably underexpose this a little bit more to take away some of the clipping here that you're getting, and get rid of some of the distractions. There's just a little bit too much detail here compared to this reflection. So that's, let me see if I can do that. Why are all of the things? This image is locked somehow that I can't edit it. That's weird. What am I missing here? Oh, that's really strange. Why is everything grayed out? It's a regular JPEG image. I mean, it looks like I can crop it, but I don't need to crop it. The composition is fine. That's weird. Where's Lightroom? In Lightroom, I can do something. All right, let me synchronize this folder. All right, where's that? Let me see if I can edit this here. So, like I was saying, I think I would bring the exposure down. Make the blacks and bring the whites up. I'm trying to get rid of some of this extra things in here. That's all I would do here, really. Maybe crop in a little bit more to the right. Or from the right, I should say. Actually, I like this part. I feel like there's a lot of interesting things going on in this building here. And these buildings, there's such a I mean, I get it. Maybe you're trying to get this juxtaposition of this like really fancy hotel or casino, whatever this is, against these more rustic type buildings. And then trying to make it a night scene. So again, I think the issue here is you're trying to do too many things at once. But in terms of exposure, yeah, I would crush the blacks a little more. Get rid of, get rid of all of this extra tones and shadows that we don't need in the image, and just focus right on this part. So that's all I would do. If you compare these two, I think the image on the right is a little bit stronger, which it looks like from this view, it looks like all I did was increase the contrast. But I think honestly that's all it needed. And then I would try and focus on, yeah, I think that's what I would do, is I would focus on this juxtaposition here of this fancy building next to these more original buildings and make that one image as part of the story. And then this image in of itself can be sort of the wider shot as part of the story, like if it was a set of images. But I really like this part of the image, the story that's going on right up here. And this part down here, I like how everything's nice and muddy. Okay, nice image though. That's not too much to change as far as I can tell. Not too much I would do other than try to tell a story or tell different stories that's going on in this image. I have a lot of trouble seeing the screen when shooting during the day, even when I'm not in direct sunlight. Can you tell me how to adjust the screen setting? Okay. Yeah, you need to go into the bottom. I'll come back to that after I finish these images. I don't know. What do you guys think? Am I kind of on the right track there? I mean, again, I need as much help as any of you in composition and lighting and editing. So I'm open to any suggestions, like what you guys would do with this same image. Uh, I feel like I'm on the right track, or that's where I would go. But I don't know. Okay, let's move on. Nice image though. All right. Hey, let me crop in. Let me see what's going on in here. Wow, I love all of the lighting in this image. There's a lot of good lighting. The problem I have is just with this light here. I'm sure there's a way to get this light in the image if you go to a different angle and just focus on that. But I see, I think actually if you just crop into right here, it's perfect. Because down here, this reflection down here, this would probably be good if you can stand in a position that you can get this light into this reflection. But if you cannot, uh man, I would try and figure out a way to make this reflection a little bit closer to what it's reflecting. But this image doesn't need anything other than really, I like the idea of repeating patterns and things, but these things are too far apart from the subject of the image, which to me is right in here. This is where all the action is, right? So maybe some of this, but not all of it. I would go in right about here because I like how the light is falling off onto the floor here too. So I would probably just crop right into this part here. So let me do a normal 4x3 crop. Why is this weird? I would do something like this. And just capture the light in the story here. Maybe get rid of these things altogether. Oh man, what am I doing? We have to get, I think I just have to go wider. 16, because this image is a thingamajig. I have to make a custom. I think a 7x16 would look good. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. And then get that out. And then we need to play with the tones just a little bit more. It needs to be a little bit straighter. Centered. Why? Why did... Just need this to be a tiny bit in. Right there. And again, bring in the shadows a little bit like that. That way the people are more silhouette, right? Oh, there's a guy standing in here too. Let's bring the highlights up. And crush the midtones. Yeah, I think that works. And, you know, there's a blue tint to it, which I like. But I think this would work in black and white too. It's not, ooh, I like that. And then just add a blue picture tone. I like the idea of what you're saying there, Pascu, but if I bring the arch in, the problem I have, because Paul is saying I should keep the arch in. The problem I have with keeping the arc in is I start capturing these circle things in the image. So that to me looks weird. So I would I just don't like these circle things in there. That's why I'm cropping them out. And there's no way to get them. There's no way to get the arch without getting these circle things, or, you know, doing some hardcore editing and just brushing them out in Photoshop. So I would have to get rid of the arc. Stop doing that. I would even come down this far, almost like that. And now I have to bring the shadows up again. Maybe the... That to me works. Let's see. Needs the top to tell us it's an Islamic scene. I know nothing about religion, so that context doesn't mean anything to me. I'm just looking at the image for the elements here in the story. But if I'm missing part of the story because I don't know anything about religion, that's very possible. But yeah, Walter says, "Hey, Walter, how are you?" Walter says to clone out the panes. I suppose if I could do that, I'm not using Lightroom or anything, so and I think, you know, for me, I think it's important to keep as much of the original image there, or the original scene, right? And work with the lighting and the story without actually starting to cut out things that are there. I I don't like to do that. So I'd rather frame it so that distracting elements are not in there to begin with, rather than trying to capture the element then brushing out all of these other things, because that to me is not... I don't like to do that personally. I mean, there's little things you can do, right? You can brush out twigs of a branch or something that's coming into your skyline, like in landscapes. People do that all the time. They brush out that tiny little branch or leaf that's sticking in the frame. But I would not brush out entire panes of windows just to get the shot that I want. If I was doing this for selling this as artwork or something, maybe. But people get a lot of flack for uh, selling images as authentic, and then you find out they cropped, or not cropped, but brushed out elements or composited images. Uh, and that's fine. If it sells a picture, that's fine. But for me, uh, I don't like to do things like that for this kind of image. I want this kind of image to be authentic. So this was taken at Casablanca. Okay. Yeah, this this chandelier hanging up here is kind of killing it. But all right, but I think you guys have a valid point about uh, keeping the arch in there so that we know the context. Because who knows, maybe I'm committing some kind of offense by cutting out the arch, right? And don't even know it. Now okay. So this, I would not mind crop or brushing out just these panes right up in here. If I were doing this, I would brush those parts out and then try and keep just these, because these are not in the frame enough for me to worry about. But I think this is what I would do. You could do this. Ooh. Yeah, I just like this part in the middle right here. Me personally. Oh, John, you sold this for 1,200. Good for you, man. Like I said, it's you just, when you're selling things for art or selling things, it's different than because I don't sell anything, so I would make the picture more like this. All right. Oh, okay. Little landscape scene. Um. Wow, lots of good detail in here. Look at this. This is a kit lens on a PL5. My goodness. I've said this many times. Cameras in the last 10 years are fine. Look at the detail and everything he caught with just a 7-year-old camera and a kit lens. This is awesome. But yeah, I would straighten the horizon. That's one thing that looks a little bit off to me. And sometimes with mountains, you have the horizon perfectly level, but because of the way the lake is and the way the mountains rise or fall, it still looks crooked, right? So I just try to make it look straight to the naked eye, regardless if that's what is really going on. But that looks a little straighter to me. And then, I think the story here is in this rock here. Because look at these holes here. These are weird. Like, what are these? So I would crop all this. Like, this rock is distracting. I would definitely get rid of the rock. And let me do a standard 4x3 crop. I would definitely get rid of that rock. Now we have some trees coming in. Oh, right, somewhere right in here. I think somewhere right in here. Walter doesn't like all this rock. Yeah, I cropped out most of it, mainly because of the rock that's down here. I could probably crop out a little more. That's maybe too much. What if we get... I think that's all I would do. Maybe a little bit more. I think this works. Now the image, to me, you can see some of the detail here in the rock a little better. That these are not just weird shadows, but there's actually, it looks like somebody cut these out. And then you get some perspective because of all this stuff in the background. Look how clean that is. But I love all of this detail here. I think this works. Maybe Walter's thinking maybe a portrait. Try. Maybe have this line leading up to the rock, right? From here. Let's see how that looks. Oh, yeah, I like that a little better. That was a good suggestion. So we have the lake. Let me see if I can get the lake to kind of... I can't get the lake to lead into the rock too well, but I think this is a good picture. I like that. That's all it needed. Exposure and everything else looks right. But what do you guys think? I think that because over here in the rest of the cliff, there's not much going on here. All of the action is right in this part. So going to a portrait crop, you capture just what's interesting about the cliff, and then you capture just what's kind of interesting back here. You can see a little bit more that there's buildings and a town in here. And then I would let me think about an art filter. I don't think it even needs one. There's nothing wrong with this. None of these filters would work. So I would just do... I would just add a little bit of dehaze. That's about it. Where is that? Right here. Maybe a little more. That's all I would do. I mean, this could be an interesting black and white too, right? We do a monochrome and put in a red filter. Bring the skies in. And then brush the shadows. Like so. Just give it some nice pop. Give it a little bit more in the highlights. I think that makes for an interesting... let's see how that looks. What do you guys think of the mono? I think mono looks good too, compared to the original. A little more shadow. Kill the shadows a little more. Oh, you like the mono, Walter? Yeah, John thinks he wants to see more of the cliff. I get that, but then when you see what's in the cliff, it's not that interesting. At least not to me. This part of the cliff over here is not that interesting. But I think this image looks good both in color and black and white. I really like it. It just needs a little bit of a crop and some dehaze, but that's about it. All right, let's go to the next one. Huh. Why is this image muddy? I don't know why. It's almost like somebody sent me a thumbnail. Oh, it's just cropped in wrong. Okay. So use the aspect. See what that does. Oh, that's weird. You know, it's some reason I'm running into a workspace issue that I've never run into before. I don't know if it's the format of the images being sent in or what, but where's the crop at? Use crop, use manual. It's just not letting me highlight anything. What if I reset this completely? This is the original image. Four by three. Nope. Reset. I'm sorry, guys. I can't figure out why. Why it's not letting me do anything. I can crop, but then when I go here, it's not letting me zoom in or... Ah! Yeah, maybe I need to restart it. Let me, yeah, it's a kind of a glitch, right? Maybe. So let me, where is it? Let me just make sure in my, let me just make sure here that it's definitely gone. It's called Olympus Workspace. LMNO WO. Okay, it's gone. All right, let's reopen it. Now let's go back to that image. Yeah, must have been a glitch. All right, so now I'm good. I don't know why it has this crop on it though. 4 by 3, 3 by 4. There. All right, now we got a full image. Sorry about that, guys. And now I lost your comments, but all right, there we go. Okay, let me look at this image. Oh, it's some kind of upside down flower or hanging flower. God, I know nothing about plants. I wouldn't, there's nothing to do here. It's a picture of a hanging flower. This looks like one of those images you would see like in an encyclopedia where they put the picture of the flower, then they have a description of what it is and everything about it. So, you know me, I like to make things look kind of artsy fartsy, so I think I would just, I don't think this filter would work, but let me just eyeball it. Yeah, no, not at all. Where would I go here? I don't think any of these will work. Actually, you know, a key line would probably work, and just make it a key line or a watercolor. I think that, I mean, that's totally different than what I think you intended, but I think this is what I would do with it. I would either go key line, and I think water filter would work, or watercolor would look good too. Something like that. Because the image as it is, to me, looks like just kind of a documentary type image. There's no, you know, the lighting down here is good. I like this part, actually. Oops. This part is pretty good. So if you could have got really close and just captured how the light is kind of glistening on this, and then lock in the focus, that's what I would have done here. Because the light coming through the flowers is really good. Right in here, I like this part. So without reverting to a frickin' watercolor art filter, I would probably just focus on just this part here. And just capture the light that's going on here. And then since you can't see the whole thing, you could rotate this. I would rotate this way. Let me bring it back. I would do something like this, but I'd do it while I was there. If you can, get really close and capture all the details and how the light's hitting this part of the thing. But yeah, that's all I would do. And like I said, don't be afraid to get an angle. Oh yeah, you're funny, Elaine the Chopper. I do like my images nice and tight though, you know? Okay. Okay. Another nice little cityscape here. I like this. You have some V's in here. I don't know. I think I would emphasize, because you have pretty good detail in the clouds throughout this part, so you don't need all of it. All of the action is right in here. And the way the light's reflecting off the water. So I wonder, I wonder if this line, I can see a line going right here, straight down to the left, from top right to left. So I think I would go somewhere in here. Either go really wide aspect ratio, maybe a 16:7, like that. Because like I said, the cloud and the water, even, there's too much redundancy. You don't need that much cloud and that much water unless there's something going on with it. But I think this is where I would go. It's just go wider. And then I think color, contrast, everything else is fine. But this would make a really nice print, like if you put it on your wall in a 16:7, a nice wide nice wide print. This is where you need to go. And then let's see. And you got plenty of detail. So this would look at the detail here. This is excellent. And this is the EM10, the original EM10, okay? Not the Mark 1 with a kit lens, just for reference. So I think this is perfect. The only thing I would have done if I was there is I think I would have stopped the lens down just a tiny bit more, because you had to be on a tripod. I would stop it down to about an maybe an f5.6, just to squeeze a tiny bit more sharpness out of that lens. But other than that, it's really good. The only other line I see here is is, like I said, there's a line going from the top right to the bottom left. I don't know if there's a way to, I don't know if there's a way to take advantage of that. You really don't need to, but I just want to look just for my own. If I use a normal size crop, like let's do a 1x1. The only other thing I would do with this image is maybe just capture the one corner. I mean, that's total crap, but I think the original way I went was perfect. And I wouldn't do anything with the exposure. Oh wait, where are we? What happened to my crop? 16:7 crop. Yeah, this is perfect. And it's just a tiny bit off center, so I'd bring it in a little bit this way. Yeah, I think that's perfect. And then maybe a slight, I mean, I don't want to spend hours on this, but this image is really good. We need to find something kind of straight, so we need to kind of straighten it just a tiny bit. And yeah, that to me is perfect. There's really nothing, like I don't think the haze makes any sense here. Maybe a tiny bit of clarity. Yeah, clarity works better than the haze in this case. And I like the magenta in the sky on the clouds, so maybe just warm up the image a tiny bit just to accentuate that. Just the magenta part. Let me see. It's a bit too much. A little bit warmer. Ooh, no, 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 no. I think that works. So let's compare before and after. So that, wow, look at that. That would be awesome on somebody's wall, right? And then where's the before and after? So all I did was add a little bit of magenta and then crop it down to a 16:7, which is a standard wide crop, right? And now I think we have a really good image. You could play with it some more, like if you wanted to bring out a little bit of more detail here, maybe a dehaze filter. But this is the kind of image that Workspace would not be good at editing. You really need to kind of brush in different parts of the image for different things. But you could really make this image pop, I think, with the right editor. But just straight out of camera, this is pretty amazing. Okay. Oh, this is Giorgio's pictures. Okay. Awesome. Good picture, Giorgio. See what we're at. Oh, we're down to the last two. God, why is my voice getting scratchy? Okay. Good. Let's see. Wow, this has been cropped or downsized, but I'm not seeing the detail I want to get to. But yeah, not a fan of this frame. This kind of frame works well, I think, with sepia or black and whites, where you're trying to imitate like a plate process or a very old photographic process. But this is a wildlife shot, so I wouldn't put this kind of frame on it. But the bird is perfect, you know. You got the beak, the nice angle, and it's a pretty clean shot through the twigs and everything, so not bad. I like everything about it. I would just add a tiny bit of maybe just a tiny bit of the haze or sharpness. Let me try sharpness actually. Just a tiny bit of sharpness like that. And that's it. Actually, I would probably vignette it slightly too. So if I could get rid of that frame and vignette it and add some sharpness, I think you got a good image here. So that's all I would do. I would just I would just add some sharpness to it. But it's a perfect image otherwise. So add sharpness and get rid of that frame. Add some vignette and you're done. Let me take that vignette off. It looks like crap here. But yeah, that's all I would do. I think the sharpness really kicked it up a notch. Okay, good shot though. Good shot of a bird. Perfect timing. It's not easy with wildlife, right? To get them in the right spot because you got good catch light in the eye and good light in the eye so you can see the color, right? And the beak, you can see the shape of the beak. And then there's beautiful feathers in the chest and then good detail. And this was what was lacking in the other hawk picture, right? Is you couldn't see the talons, the detail in the talons and the color, which is really all part of the bird. And then also you captured the entire tail. So this is a really good shot of a bird. Oh, this is your shot, John? I don't like birds that look to the left. Oh, I'm sorry. This is not your shot. Or it is your shot. Is this your shot, John? You would flip it? I don't know. I think anyway, I think everything is perfect, really. I think yeah, Walter agrees. Exposure is perfect. And what was this done with? This was done with the kit lens, 40 to 150 kit lens and an EM10 Mark II. So I keep telling you guys, this you can get the EM10 Mark II with that 40 to 150 and a 14 to 42 kit lens right now for I've seen it for $3.99, 2-lens kit. And you can get excellent images like this. But yeah, this is good. All right, last one here. Unless people have sent in other ones, I'll download those later and do them at the end. Okay, so this is a beautiful scene because I love all the leaves on the ground, these little tiny leaves. But there's still plenty of leaves left on the tree, right? So I like this. A little bit too much processing though. It's a little too crispy for me. This kind of scene really, in my eye, needs to be soft, right? And I mean, it can go either way, right? This is almost looks like an oil painting the way it is. Because if you look at the leaves up here, it almost looks like an oil painting. So you can kind of go either way, I think. You can go kind of an oil painting way where they have these filters you can apply, but let's not get carried away with filters, right? What would I do? It's slightly crooked though, or it feels slightly crooked. It's another one of those images where, yeah, you might be technically perfectly aligned, but to the naked eye, because of the way these trees are, it's making me feel like the image is crooked. But I don't see any lines that are crooked, so it might just be me. But this, I don't like the sky here. It's either you want, yeah, I don't like this. I hate these little corners and things in images where the corners are just kind of messed up. Like, to me, this is not a good corner for an image. I would crop this part out if I can. And then this walkway, I can see some people all the way down here in the corner. That gives perspective to the whole scene. But the fact that there's a sidewalk here and a trash can, you have the perspective you need. So you don't need the people other than maybe to add a story. So what would be really nice is if somebody was standing here throwing trash away, you know, that shows that people care about this park or wherever it is and why it's so beautiful and clean, because people are very conscious of all the trash, because that's the other thing that makes this scene beautiful, is that there's no trash or clutter and it's a public place. So I think a person throwing trash away would make this scene a little more interesting. And then I would probably work with this line here. Either make the trash can sort of part of this, and not that you want trash cans in your pictures, because sometimes people hate that. They don't want to see a trash can in a picture. But I think it works for this scene, actually. So I would put it not too much in the rule of thirds in this case, because when you use like your standard composition rules, a lot of times it makes that the subject of the image. I don't want the trash can to be a subject of the image. I want it to be sort of an accent to the image that explains maybe why this park is so clean and beautiful, so that it's just in the scene as kind of an accent, but not the subject of the scene. The subject of the scene needs to be the overall beauty of the park and the trees and everything like that. So to me, this is kind of where I would go. And then, yeah, I need to straighten it somehow, because this workspace is acting up on me. I can't straighten or crop now. But I need to straighten it somehow, but I lost all of my editing here. That might be a little bit too tight. But something in this neighborhood. Again, I don't want that trash can. This I like. This image I like a lot better. You lose a lot of depth with this crop. Yeah, that's true. Now it looks like just a shot of the trees, and not you don't have any scale, right, of how big. That's true. Because really, this is a really big area. When I crop it in like that, it looks like it's just one short little sidewalk. Because I got it. Yeah, I lost all of the leaves down here, which are really good. Maybe that. Something like that. My problem is the corners. So what I need to do is, since this is so wide, I need to get the center line of this corner in the shot, just for geometry's sake for me. So that's about the corner. I think that, and then take this all the way to the top. Yeah, I think that works. This to me works. Because now we got rid of all of the, whoops. Sorry, let me. I don't think editing wise, exposure or anything needs anything. It's perfect the way it is. So that's all I would do. I would just crop in just a tiny bit to get rid of this corner sky. And these people are so tiny, it's not helping the image. But I like this, actually. I wish if I was there, I would stand in a way that these trees cover up the entire skyline. Because this, you really got this image right. The composition is exactly right the way you had it originally. Because when I try to crop this sky out, I kind of mess up the picture. Yeah, I think the original is best. What do you guys think? I think the original is the best image. It's just this part here in the sky is what's bothering me. But I really like this corner where the people are kind of standing. I just wish the tree line covered all of this. So like in Photoshop or Lightroom, I would brush all that out. You know, I'd do a clone of this and that would be it. All right. That was the last one. I'm going to close workspace. It needs a break, and then I'll download some other images if they came in. Let me find. Oh, okay. Some more images came in. Okay, I'll review them. Before I go, let me see. The white sky drives Elaine nuts, and Larry. So, yeah, I think it's perfect. I would probably just fix that one corner in the sky, and then it's fine. Otherwise, all right. Let me see what's in my notes here. There was a technical question about something earlier. I forget what it was. If anybody has any questions about the cameras or settings or anything like that, this is a good time to ask. And let me try to find dang it. I said I would come back to you and get that question. Now I can't find it. So if you're still here, can you ask that again? It had something to do with sorry, I just can't remember. Yeah, I can't remember what your question was. It was something to do with a setting or something. But what I can do is let me go to my drive and download these pictures real quick. So you guys ask a few questions if you have any about the cameras and stuff. What is this? Oh wow. There's Sam, Baron, John. Gosh, a lot of pictures came in while I was jibber jabbering there. Okay. All right, so it's all of these. And right click and download. You guys can watch my dog while I do this and ask questions, okay? What is where is it? Yeah. What? What do you want? What do you want? Ow, no. Stop it. Sit down. You hungry? What? What do you want? What do you want? Ow, no. Stop it. Sit down. You hungry? Oh, hey. Let's see. Let me go over here. Let me ask some questions real quick. Answer some questions if any came in. Adjusting screen settings for sun. Oh, yeah. Okay. Francois, thank you. That was the question. All right. So, you know, the live view is hard to see sometimes outside. So you go into the menu, right? Just the regular menu, and go all the way down to the wrench here, right? And in the wrench, you'll see right up here to adjust the screen brightness, which is like the third line item. And you go to the third line item, right? And then you click OK here, and then you can brighten the screen up like so. And that makes it a lot brighter. And that'll make it easier to see outside, but ultimately if it's too bright, you got to use the viewfinder. But that's the only way. That's the only suggestion I have. Nature with Music asking how to upload. There's a link in the show notes below on how to upload photos. So just bookmark that link for later, and you can upload photos. Yeah, and there's a link in the forum. I was not eaten by a dog, but man, when that girl is hungry, she's so pushy. She walks up and she just kind of taps me on the shoulder. Hey, I'm hungry. I'm hungry. And she'll do that for like 10 minutes until she finally jumps on me. You didn't see the 10 minutes before, right? Of that video. I said, I got to get my phone out and record this because she's being a bitch. I cropped her tail off. My EM1 Mark III is failing when trying to create handheld high-res shot. It gives me an error. Yeah, it basically the problem is if it's windy out and there's things moving in the frame, it's gonna die. It's not going to be able to merge those images together. I've noticed that it does have a hard time with moving objects. So if somebody's walking in the frame or the trees and it's windy, it's going to fail. So it has to be a very, very steady shot. So if you go into your house or take a picture of a building where there's nothing moving in the scene, hand holding at a decent, in decent light, and it's still failing, then there's a problem that you need to get it checked and fixed because it should be able to handle a building no problem. But I have noticed when there's things moving in the frame, you'll get that message. Let's Elaine says, I asked a question about art filter bracketing. When I pick the ones I want in the menu, it takes out some I do, but leaves others, even though I turn them off. Okay. Okay, Jason, so that makes sense, right? Yeah, if there's things moving in the frame. But Elaine, art filters, when I pick up... yes, okay. Art bracketing, there's two places to set up the filters, right? So, and they're independent of each other. So, you have the M5 though, right? But it should be pretty similar on this camera. This is the M10. Oh, where is it? Picture mode? No. Display. So there's here, right? Picture mode settings. Wait, how can I angle this? There's picture mode settings, and if I go into there, you know, you can scroll down and you can pick your art filters that you want to display. This is different than art bracketing, all right? Because there's all the art filters in this menu, right? And you're checking these on and off, but that's different than art bracketing. Art bracketing, you have to go into the bracketing menu here in shooting menu 2. Turn that on, and then go to this line item here, art bracketing, right? And turn this on. See if I can do this backwards. It's hard to kind of come in and out. So, and then you can check the ones on and off in here, and then click menu, turn that on, turn off, oops, turn off the, gosh darn it. That's what I wanted there. It's hard to do this backwards. So now art bracketing is on. So you turn this on, click OK, click OK. Now it says on up here. Click OK. Yeah, we're good. Tap out. And then you'll see that the bracketing icon is right here, right? So when I take a picture, it'll art bracket the ones you selected. So that, I think that's where you're having the problem, Elaine, or conflict. What brand of extension tube do I recommend? I liked the Mikeys, but let me show you something. What other ones? Anyway. All right, so I have this Mikey brand was really good, okay? They're hard to find now. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. This one. Because they're all metal inside and out. But you know how I drop things all the frickin' time? I drop this and the inside is all plastic. So you can see the plastic things are broken. You know, I dropped this with the lens on it, so the lens kind of jacked up this thing. But this actually is a really good extension tube with the all-metal build on the outside. But it's a false sense of security because everything inside is plastic. So I bought another set that's all plastic, and because the you know, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and if everything inside is plastic, it doesn't matter if the outside is plastic too, in my opinion. The only thing I like about getting the metal is this part, this mount ring is metal. So that, I think, will last longer. then because the plastic one that's all plastic, the lens mount is all plastic too. So that'll break easier than this one. But I really like these, actually, this brand. But Vodka sells some too. So that, yeah, so that's that. But just be aware of that it looks metal, but it's not. What brand and size extension tubes do you recommend? Oh, I just answered that. When I shoot in live time, the screen becomes very dark and it's hard to monitor developing image in Instagram. How can I brighten the screen for live time shooting? Live time. Let me think. Oh, I think you can do live view boost. Let me check. Let me turn bracketing off. And let me turn the brightness down on this screen. All right, display. Live view boost. All time. On 2, on 2. On 2, so I turned everything on. I'm just double checking because it doesn't say live time specifically. So let me put it into live time. What? Why am I not in live time? There's something on? Let me just do a reset. I don't have time to think about it. Hold on. Just gonna do a quick reset on the camera. Because I just finished that video on customizing the my sets. So let me try and get into live time again. What am I doing wrong here? You go into shutter mode and you just rotate the damn... Oh, maybe you have to go into manual mode. Oh, there it is. Okay. You have to be in manual mode. What am I thinking? So, bulb time monitor. All right, that's all you have to do. All right. So let me reset the camera. And then I can show you from scratch. And it doesn't take long. So I'm in manual mode, right? I'm in manual mode. And I just got to rotate this down until I get into live time. So that's live comp, that's live time, right? And what you're saying, this is really dark. And yeah, on the video it looks okay, but yeah, to the naked eye it's very dark. So what you do is you hit the menu button while you're in live time. Let me get this up close. Like so. And it brings you to this. Hit the menu button again. And then scroll up here. Whoops, let me get that. Scroll up here to bulb time monitor. Click OK. Just brighten it up. And then when you're back in live time, it's nice and bright. So that's all you need to do. So that was for Edward. Okay. Requires a series of shots outside to act as windbreak. Oh, okay. You're talking about taking pictures like flowers and stuff. You kind of block the wind from making them move. Yeah. Sometimes people use I use a coat hanger to kind of hold the flower down. I do that sometimes. 11 and 18 is $40. Wow, that's mine was a 10 and 16 millimeter, a 10-16 millimeter kit of extension tubes. That was like $26 or $27. But maybe prices have gone up since, everything going on. But okay, you're welcome, Edward. Okay, if there's no other questions, I'm just gonna go through these last few images real quick. And then I'll try and wrap this up in like in 10 or 15 minutes. But Oh, thanks, Mike. Man, you're awesome. uh, I appreciate that. Um, I know you didn't you email me with some questions too? I think I responded because I did get some emails this morning. John Mark's asking, do I use back button focus? Not too much, except for uh, like when I'm doing birds in flight or sports action. Back button focus is a little easier to work with. But for normal photography, just my muscle memory now is like half push the shutter button. I'm just used to working like this. But when you're trying to do sports action and panning and things like that, you don't have you don't have that luxury of being able to stand there and half press the shutter, right? Uh, you just cannot. You need to be moving, so it's easier if you have this button that you can hold down with your thumb or let go with any force that you want, so you have a good grip on the camera, and then just slam on the shutter button to take the picture. So if I'm in a situation where I'm moving around a lot, I like to use back button focus because you don't have any finesse when you're trying to be fast. But when I take my time for normal photography, street photos, I can take some time and I can have a little finesse and precision in my composition. Then half pressing the shutter button is my preferred method. Uh, Now, if there's any technical reasons to do one way or the other, uh, it doesn't come up in the photography I do enough that it matters to use back button focus versus half pressing. So for me, it's more a matter of finesse and precision in the kind of photography that I might be doing. So sports action, you don't have time for finesse. You have to be fast, right? But when you're doing street photography, yeah, you can. Anyway, that's what I say there. Okay, so let's look at this image. Where's my? Nope. This is just my black screen. Hold on. Nope. Where did I delete it? I probably did. Oh, no, here it is. Oh, you're welcome, Jean-Marc. Hopefully that makes sense, right? At least for me. If anyone else has any feedback about back button focus, just let Jean-Marc know. Because I know it's handy for certain types of photography, but I don't do those enough, or anyhow. Okay. Oh God, these pictures just look crooked again. This is really nice though. It's a castle or something, or a fortress of some kind. um, but it's crooked. And I don't know if it's because of the perspective, like maybe you have the camera tilted a funny way, because it looks straight in other parts. Let me check the flag here. Yeah, the flag is perfectly straight. How about this other flag? Um, yeah, man, that's perfectly straight. Hi, Corna, how are you? So the problem is not that you got it crooked. It's this frickin' fort is crooked. It's straight here, but then the perspective is crooked somehow. So yeah, you think the right-hand side is a little tight, right? But again, this is one of those things, like I don't know where you can walk relative to the position of this fortress, right? Like if if you walk over here, you're going to be too close to the wall and you're not going to get the whole scene. So obviously they're standing over here somewhere that's steady, because this looks like a long exposure shot. Based on the water, well, it tells me right here, duh. 5-second shot, right? So most likely on a tripod with a pen F. Yeah, this had to be on a tripod if it's a pen F, because pen F would never get this sharp. So I think this is the problem, is I don't know where you're standing. You might be limited to where you're standing, but I would have moved over to the right a little bit if I can. But there's nothing. I mean, it's a nice long exposure shot. But this bridge here doesn't do anything for me. I like this corner of the scene. Oh, you set it on a concrete post, Sam? Oh yeah, same thing, right? You're not hand holding, is basically what I'm saying. But you held it on a concrete post? Yeah, I've done that. I see some action over here. I like this. And I like the lighthouse, but we're trying to capture the fort, right? Because this sidewalk apparently goes up to the lighthouse. So I assume you got some shots of that too, right? But focusing on this fort, this angle, if you can, I would have moved over to the right a little bit and got some symmetry here and made this the center of the shot and just crop out and make this the center. And the fact that this wall is, oh, I see why this looks weird. Okay, because this wall is jutting out. That's why it looks a little crooked. So yeah, you need to move over to the right so that this doesn't distort the eye's view of this castle or fortress. Because the way this wall is curving out towards the water is making it difficult for me to get my bearings on where I'm looking. It's making the scene look crooked. So that's what I would do. Something more like that. Maybe go wider. That's maybe a 16:9 would be enough. Ironically, if you get rid of the water and just focus on this castle, doesn't help either. Yeah, I feel like, why is the crop not resetting? Yeah, it's just the position. I mean, it's everything is perfect. The exposure is perfect. The 5-second exposure, I think, is just about right, just to get the water smooth but still see some texture. And everything else is exposed properly. Even the little highlights here they're slightly blown out, but that's okay. It's a light. So everything is perfect in the image. It's just the framing. You have to move a little bit to the right or more to the left, something to get this kind of warpiness look out of it. And that's hard to do, right? Because like I said, I'm not there. I don't know what your maneuverability was around this scene, especially stuff that's, on the water. But I like everything else about it. Just this part is bothering me. Let's see. I sent it delivery. It's about 800 years old. Yeah. Yeah, it's an old fort, right? Oh, okay. We have a black and white. with a bridge over water. We're trying to work some foreground in with this log. So I have to move over a little bit and look at it. Oh, thanks, John. God, there's such a lag on the comments here. I'll just Anyway, let me look at this image. This is the bridge over water. So I feel like, let me see the lines. This tree, that's the problem with trees, right? They can make your horizons look crooked when they're not. But this bridge is definitely moving up a little bit, which I just tilt it slightly. But it's supposed to go up a little bit because it's going away from you. And then this is water, this is water. This looks like it's land. So you're standing here, obviously on the land here. And looking up, your eye level's right about here. And this is just mud over here. So from where you're standing, what would I do? Because like I said, it's always a matter of where if you were in the field, you know, standing in this spot, how would you do this picture differently? That's what I'm trying to think. Because I know what it's like, man. The perfect image is always 10 feet into the water. Like, it'd be nice if you could be standing over here or, you know, sometimes. But sometimes you're just stuck. This is the only place you can stand. Just like the other shot of the fortress, right? Maybe there wasn't anywhere to move other than where he was standing. But I would probably... I can't crop this anywhere because I don't want to lose too much of the... Let me keep this in a portrait crop. I think I would just crop in a little bit on this log so you don't see with the land here where you're standing. And you don't need to see where the bridge comes out. I think that works for me a little better. What happened to my editing panel? Oh, there it is. Okay. So I think that works a little better. I might crop in just a tiny bit more. Just that corner has to be... This corner has to be filled in. I just hate empty corners. All right, good. I think I like that. Now, what I would do is some contrast. So, I think clarity would work here. That's too much. That was a mistake. Maybe a tiny bit of dehaze. That's not doing enough, so I need to work with the highlights. Let me try the highlights. And some midtones. Because the image is just a little bit too flat, so I need to work in... I need to work in some of the highlights. Then let me crush the shadows. Bring the midtones up again. Not that much. Let me get rid of the shadows again. And then I think I'll just bring the exposure up from here. A little more. Oh, too much. Too much. Okay. I wish I could bring the highlights up more. I think that'll work. Maybe I need to take out some of the dehaze, maybe. Um, Probably went a little too heavy on the shadows. So I'm going to bring the shadows up and bring the exposure back down. All right, that's what I would do. Just like that. And then what you can do is you can add like an art filter, because what I want to do is the vintage art filters, if you apply them to like a black and white image or the instant film art filter, it will add tones to the image without adding color, which is kind of interesting. But I'll add like nice tints, like split toning a little bit. Now the instant film filter does that a lot too, but let's see how that looks. I like that. That's kind of a reddish tint. Let me try vintage 3. I'm not sure. I think I like the instant film tint a little bit better. Just try vintage 1. No. My favorite here is the instant film tint. Hey, Francois, we'll see you later. I think this works. Maybe a little bit less contrast. But let's compare before and after. I'm like 90% there. What do you guys think? My edit's a bit punchier. A little bit too bright maybe, but that's kind of the direction I would go with this image. But other than that, it's a nice image. I like the tones in this log a lot better than the tones on my log. But my challenge is the water here. I wanted the water to kind of stand out. Where am I losing detail? I think that's part of the problem here. Let me add the sharpness back in. I think the instant film art filter sort of, that's a little better. But okay, that's what I would do. Yeah, a little over processed, right? It's okay. The vintage 3 looks best. But I wanted to try to bring in a little split toning kind of look using Workspace. If I had Capture One or Lightroom, I would do this very differently in terms of adding tint. But this is what I can do in Workspace, which is kind of my goal, is to stick within the Workspace. All right, let's see. Oh, this looks almost like a composite. I bet this is Elaine's picture. But let's see. I like it though. It's a composite. There's a little bit of a seam here. What's going on there? What I do different? I don't think I would do it. You know, with these artsy fartsy pictures, it's hard to say to do anything different because they're always usually so abstract or weird that you don't want to change anything because this is your vision or your message, right? But I like it. I would just I can't do anything. Yeah, I think it looks good as is. Yeah, you're abstract and weird, Elaine. Yeah, this is very abstract. You got some sparkles down in here. The only problem with this is if you can, you need to fix this seam in the image because that's what's kind of a big giveaway, right? That this is a composite. I mean, it's other than being a composite, it needs to be a little. It needs a little bit of stitching right in here, or correction. But that's it. Oh my God, this looks like one of my shots. Like when I go antiquing, this one looks like it's at Goodwill or something. But I'm always taking pictures in Goodwill and antiquing. Uh, what I would do here, I would go with a gentle sepia um, art filter and straighten it for perspective. And then you got these shoes here. They're kind of out of focus. It looks like you focused on this. So I definitely need to straighten this out. Let me add a line in. Which line can I use? I'll use this wall. This wall back here as a line. And then let me see if I can bring this person back in. I need to crop in. I'm trying to make the mannequin a subject. I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not. Because the interesting thing about this picture is all these hangers and oh, there's some hangers back here. I guess I can make the mannequin the subject. And we'll crop off the shoe. What about this corner here? I don't know. Let me. I think that kind of works. And then if I wanted to keep this color, I'd have to get rid of this green. So I'd add the magenta back in. And what is this about a book? Oh, you guys are talking about Lane's picture, I think. Okay. Yeah, let me get rid of some of this green. Add a little bit of warmth. And now I would do either a gentle sepia or I would do a vintage. So I'm just gonna do a vintage 3. I like this. This is what I would do with this picture. So this and then we'll do a gentle sepia. But there's the before and after, right? So I cropped out most of the hangers in the bottom left. And then I adjusted the white balance, then I applied the vintage filter. But I think this gives it a nice kind of nostalgic look to it. But that green that you're getting in the white balance is from those fluorescent lights. So the camera didn't do a good job of auto white balancing that for you. So I had to kind of fix that in post. The only other filter I think might work is a gentle sepia. And where is that? This one. And then I would crush the blacks a little bit at a -4. Yeah, I think this works too. Just I don't know. I like the vintage one better, but gentle sepia works. And if I did black and white, I'd have to be hardcore editing. I don't think black and white would work with this too well. What would I do here? Definitely. That's what I would do with a black and white. So that looks not bad actually, the black and white. I like that better than the sepia. It's too bad I can't like show multiple versions. But that's my thinking. Yeah, Elaine, you like the colors? Yeah, I think the vintage was best, right? So let me just go back to that. That's about 10 steps or 20,000 steps back. Right? Right there. Yeah, I agree. I think the color looked best. I mean, the black and white kind of worked well, but this is this got the vintage? This doesn't have the vintage applied. 1 second. Vintage 3. Yeah, vintage 3. Vintage 3 with a little white balance adjustment and you're good. All right, let's move on to the next one. Whose picture was that? Says here. Oh, John. John's picture. Okay. Thanks. Was the pen 1450 style. Oh, okay. Cool. Well, good shot, John. It's just like the picture I would take. I've taken a lot of pictures exactly like this. Let's see. And Walter, I'll look for that picture. You said you uploaded something. Oh, this an ant trying to get some action here. Gosh, is he tearing a hole in that caterpillar? That's rough. Okay, I like how the green stands out against the concrete here. So I would just accentuate that part of it. I think that's all I would do because I don't see anything else to do compositionally. It's a good tight shot. Maybe, actually, I would tighten it up just a little bit more. Just right there with the ant. I think like that. Whoops, zoom out. I think that makes a better shot. Because this is where the action is this ant attacking this caterpillar. I like this being a little bit tighter. Um, yeah, poor caterpillar, right? And then, yeah, I would make the colors pop. Well, not number 2. I'm sorry, number 1. Pop art number 1. Nah, that looks stupid. We'll just have to do it manually. I don't think any of the R filters would look good here, so I would just do it manually with the saturation slider. Just to get that green to really pop. Then I think white balance is fine. Maybe just get rid of a little bit of the green. And I think just a touch of vignette like that. Touch more. From the vignette's not showing. Yeah, just a touch. Right about there. All right, let's see a before and after. There's the after, but there's the before and after. I think the shot on the left is a little stronger than the one on the, or I'm sorry, I think the crop makes the image a lot more powerful because you can really see the ant now trying to grab onto this caterpillar. It's probably trying to hold him down till his friends come, right? Till backup comes in. But I think that's where I would go. What do you think? This is your image. Oh, you like it a little more like that? Yeah. I mean, play with the cropping a little bit because sometimes I like to do, since there's nothing messing up with the lines, you can you can kind of tilt it this way and crop it in like this. Whoops, hold on, not seeing it. That kind of works too, but I would play with the crop though, and then just add a little saturation and warm it up, and it looks good, I think. Let's see what we got here. I got, oh, it looks like you hit upload twice by mistake. Okay. Wow, this is a tough one. You're trying to expose for the outside a little bit, but then the inside is all crushed. So this is one of those ones that you have to see. This is one that would be better fixed in like a real processor, because I can bring the shadows up, but it's not helping the scene at all. Because these highlight shadow sliders in Workspace are very coarse. But okay, so that's that. I only did that so I can see what's in the scene, and then I might change it back later. But I like the plants hanging here. Ooh, coffee. All right. Or juice, whatever that is. So I think in this scene, this element and this element here are kind of out of place. Yeah, this just feels out of place. I kind of like the plants here, but the angle's wrong. So what we can do is we can have all of these lines here leading up to the subject here, which is the door, and going out to the real world because there's people and everything. There's a person sitting there, isn't there? Kind of. I would crop it something like this. So that's a really tight crop, but I like these lamps up here too. Hold on. Maybe the image is up here. Yeah, let's keep it vertical. Get rid of all this stuff on the side. And just come in a tiny bit. So I would do, I feel like this is kind of where the shot needs to be. I mean, I'd like to get a little more out here, but I don't like those chairs. So I would crop it here, and then since all the colors washed out, I'd convert this to black and white because the exposure is so extreme. You might as well just go with black and white. And then now this is where I can start to put the shadows back where they were. And just deal with the tones. I know this looks rough, but give me a minute. I think maybe I need to raise the exposure instead. Yeah, that helps. All right, now it just needs some clarity or dehaze. Something like this. That's not doing jack. like the clarity at all. That's all I can do with this. I can't, I just don't see anything else in the shot. But there's the before and after. So that's the challenge, right? When an image has so much dynamic range, you kind of need to pick your battles. So I'm gonna sacrifice the highlights and try and bring back some of the midtones. And because I had to bring up from the shadows, there's no color information left in the image, right? Because everything's kind of blown out. So I just converted to black and white. So that's how I would approach a picture like this. And then compositionally, I would definitely change the composition. If I were there, I would stand a little bit more front and center to the door, so that this door was front and center. And then try to capture the lines of the plants and the chairs coming in to the door, and then also using the lights at the top to come in. And that's how I would approach this if I were there. But right now I have to kind of make the door a kind of secondary. But okay, that's what I would do there. Walter said he I don't know whose image that was. John Rayner. Okay. So you exposed for the interior, not wanting to deal within the scene. Yeah. Yeah, I see where you're going. There's great texture here in the brick and then in the ceiling. But you have all this in the middle that you have to deal with. So I would have probably, yeah, I see where you're going with that. I do love this. So in that case, you would want to pick your battles then. Um, you may just want to come up here like this. Yeah, I think that's a little more interesting. Then we can straighten it. So this is another case where you have two pictures in one. So I would just straighten this. Like so. Then oh, I did too much. Yeah, maybe make the I think something like that kind of works. Let me straighten it back. So yeah, focus on one or the other, because you saw the two elements, right? The brickwork on the floor and the way the shadows were coming, and then you saw the roof line. So think of a way to compose it and capture those things. I think that would work, John. This scene. Because if we I think this kind of works. You just need to be kind of at a little different angle. Okay, let me see what see, Walter sent me something. Okay, I'm gonna do Walter's and then we're gonna wrap it up because my battery's gonna die. It's running 3 hours and 15 minutes on one battery. Whoops. Where's workspace? Did it come in? This looks like my image. This is from a photo walk that Walter and I did together. No, I think this is his. No, this looks like the one I took. God, what was I shooting back then when I took this? I think I had my Olympus system. I wonder if the exif date is still here. Yeah, EM1 Mark II. What's the date? 2017. So this is shortly after I got my Olympus EM1 Mark II. And I took this picture, and I probably, let's see, I adapted a lens to it. So I have an yeah, I adapted my Nikon 105 f2.5. So that's why it's so shallow, the depth of field, right? I have 105 millimeter at f2.5. And yeah, if I had to do this again, the problem with this image is and the white balance, and I would do it in black and white. But how come it's not showing in my workspace? I downloaded it. Let me see, open, show in folder. Give me a second. I'm gonna critique my own picture literally here. I just have to find it. Oh, there it is. All right. So this is almost 2.5 years later. I'm critiquing my own image. Yeah, I would definitely go black and white because the colors are so bland and soft. And then, yeah, I'd crank in some dehaze and sharpness. And then I'd go back and crush the shadows. I don't need all this over here. And I like how, yeah, I like this. I'm gonna go for a low-key image. Just add a little bit back in the tones. Definitely some in the highlights. And let me see. I think I need to straighten it a little bit. Bah. Something. See how that looks. That's close. I like this. I like this better. I wish I could crop this part out. Actually, I can do it with a clone stamp. This is legit, getting rid of this part. So, how to use this clone stamp? I forget. I forget how to use the clone stamp. Oh, now I remember. Okay. I need a little bigger brush. Oh my God, that looks like crap. What a terrible job of brushing. It needs more blur. There. All right. Other than my terrible job of cloning. All right, let's just pretend I'm using Lightroom and I fixed that. But other than that, this is how I would do the picture differently. That's my left picture. The left picture is the one I took originally 2.5 years ago, and this one is the one on the right. That's cool, Walter. Thanks. You guys think my new edit's better? You can see how my style has changed a little bit, right? I like a little bit tighter shot and more contrast. And I don't worry about blowing highlights out and things like that, because all the action in this image is right here in the eyes, right? And the face. The hand itself, even over here, the hand, there's no detail and it's a little bit blurry because I was focusing here, and it's such a shallow depth of field. If I had a little bit wider depth of field where I could capture some of the detail in the hand, I probably wouldn't have let these highlights get blown out. But because there's no detail there anyway, and it's blurry, I just blew it out. All right, that's it, guys. Let me just make a couple quick announcements. Next week, I'm gonna have Jimmy Chang and Joe Ellis on as guests. So a lot has happened since I talked to them, so I'm gonna double check. But that's the plan for next week, Sunday. So make sure you come back for that, and everyone be safe, okay? It's kind of crazy times now. We're kind of at our peak here in the U.S., I think. So we're still a little bit behind the curve on all of this, but I hope that most of you guys are doing well. I'm worried about there's another John that not John Allen and not John Softly, but there's a third John that I haven't heard from in a while, so I'm worried about him. Last name is starts with the letter G. So John, if you're okay, send me an email, okay? Uh, but okay. Thanks again for watching, and hopefully we'll see you guys again soon. I can never end these things right. Where's my button? Nope, I'm not going live. My battery went dead. So that went 3 hours and God, that went 3 hours and about 27 minutes. Man, this is the M1 Mark III or Mark II with the battery. How do I end this GD stream? Please. There it is. Golly. Bye, guys.